How's it going, everyone? This is a follow-up video to the last one I did about Ontario's election results. I got some questions about different hypothetical situations, comparisons, like what if some political parties merged, that sort of thing. So I will go through answers to those questions here. To answer all of those, all one needs is a chart like this. So we have all of the electoral districts right here, and we have all of the political parties here. So for every electoral district, we have what percent of the vote went towards which political party. Just to test that everything in the chart is correct, it did take a lot of copy and pasting and cleaning up the data. We just have Excel logical formulas to look at everything that we're going to look at. So to start, just looking at which party got the maximum number of votes per electoral district, tallying up the winners for every political party, we have the election results, which perfectly match the actual election results. It should be noted there is one independent candidate who also won a seat, and they are ideologically more or less similar to the Progressive Conservative Party. So that's 84 votes for that ideological bloc, although the PC party only actually won 83 seats rather than 84. So moving on to the questions asked and the answers. So first off, we have, did the Conservative Party, and I'll use conservative and progressive conservative interchangeably here. So the Conservative Party, did they lose any seats as a result of vote splitting? Okay, what that means is, are there any ridings where the Conservatives lost, but had those who voted for other right-wing parties, had they voted for the Conservatives, then the Conservatives would have won? And turns out, yes, there are 3 electoral districts or ridings where that happened. But in one of those ridings, actually the person who won was the independent candidate, who ideologically more or less is similar to the Progressive Conservatives. So from an ideological standpoint, only 2 seats were lost as a result of vote splitting between the right-wing parties. Next question is, well, what if we ignore the centrist parties? Okay, so ignoring the center-left, ignoring the center-right, and we compare the parties that are left. So the NDP on the left wing and the New Blue plus the Ontario Party on the right wing. Are there any electoral districts where combined the New Blue and Ontario, those are the 2 right-wing parties that are not centrist, combined where they got more votes than the NDP, which is the left-wing party, which is not centrist? And turns out 0. So in all of Ontario, there are no ridings, okay, no electoral districts where the combined not centrist right-wing vote was more than the not centrist left-wing vote. Not a single riding. Okay, now what if we compare the 2 new right-wing parties, so not the center-right, but just the other 2 right-wing parties, the number of votes they got to the number of votes that the Liberal, the center-left-wing party, got in every single riding? Are there any ridings where the combined vote for the 2 new right-wing parties was bigger than the vote for the Liberals? And turns out, yes, there are 6 ridings where that happened. Now, it should be noted that 3 of those 6 ridings are actually ridings where the Liberals did not have a candidate. Okay, so they got 0% of the vote there because they didn't have a candidate in that riding. So the 0 here and the 6 here suggests that the NDP might be more popular than the Liberals. And of course, when we look at the number of seats, yeah, the NDP got 31 seats versus the Liberals 8. But what if we compare them directly, not at the ridings they won, but in every single riding? How many ridings are there where the Liberals got a higher portion of the vote than the NDP? And it turns out there's 58, which is a little bit less than half of the seats. Okay, there are 124 seats in total, so 58 is a little bit less than half of that. So in most ridings, just a little bit more than 50%, the NDP is actually more popular than the Liberals. Okay, so the farther left-wing party is actually more popular than the center-left party in just over half of the electoral districts. Now, what if we do this center right-wing versus the rest of the right-wing parties comparison with just like we did with the left-wing, right? Comparing the center-left with the other left-wing party. Well, we can compare the center-right progressive conservatives against the other right-wing parties, and we can see in how many electoral districts did the progressive conservatives get more votes than the other two right-wing parties combined. And the answer is all of them. All 124 electoral districts had a bigger portion of the population voting for progressive conservatives than for the other two right-wing parties combined. So those are some interesting comparisons. Now we'll deal with hypothetical situations. One thing often asked is, well, what if the two left-wing parties united? Then would they be able to beat the progressive conservatives? Now, we're not talking about an alliance here. An alliance means that whatever seats they win, they vote as a single block. In this case, they would have a total of 39 seats against 84 conservative seats. That's not even half the seats the conservatives control. So an alliance wouldn't even do anything. We're talking about a hypothetical situation where the parties actually merge, become one party, they put up one candidate, and what if everyone who voted for either of these two parties, either of the two left-wing parties, voted for that one candidate? Would they be able to beat the progressive conservatives then? Now, this is a really hypothetical situation which may not be realistic at all, because if two parties did merge, well then a lot of Liberal supporters who don't like the NDP might decide not to vote for that merged party, and vice versa. There could be NDP supporters who don't like the Liberals enough that they would not vote for that merged party. But still, we can look at a hypothetical situation. And here is what we see. So this united left-wing party would win 71 seats, while the progressive conservatives would win 52 and the Green Party would win 1 seat. That's what the results would look like. Now, a more fair comparison would be, okay, well, if all the left-wing parties united, how would they match up against all of the right-wing parties uniting? Okay, so all the votes that went to the conservatives plus the other two right-wing parties merged into one. Well, then the matchup looks different. Then the right-wing bloc actually has a little bit more seats. It has 63 versus the left wing's 60. And 63 actually is enough to get a majority in Parliament. Now, this example actually shows how this hypothetical situation is not very realistic, because in 2018, there was only one right-wing party in Ontario, and they didn't get 63 seats, they got 76. And then 4 years later, when two right-wing parties actually split off, well, even though there was vote splitting, which we saw cost the right wing 2 seats, they still won 84 seats, even more than the 76. And of course, it's not a fair comparison anyways, because 2018 is different conditions than 2022. And it just goes to show that these really are hypothetical situations that we're looking at for fun and for insight. It doesn't mean that it could actually happen like that. Now, in these cases, we are treating the Greens as separate here. We're not treating them as right or left wing, because they do have elements of both sides of the political spectrum. But if we do include the Greens, well, then the situation looks like that. If we count the Greens as left wing, well, then the left wing actually defeats the right wing bloc with 72 seats versus 52. But if we count the Greens as right wing, then the right wing, well, defeats the left wing bloc even more. Rather than a slight victory of 63 seats, they get 74 seats against the left wing 50. The one last hypothetical situation we'll look at is a grand centrist union. Okay, what if the two centrist parties, the Liberals and the Progressive Conservatives, united into a single party, and everyone who voted for them voted for that one Grand Centrist Alliance Party. Would they take everything? Turns out no, they won't take every seat. Okay, and how much seats they take depends on whether all the other parties unite or not. So if all the other parties also unite against them, so we have a centrist party against an everyone else party, well, the centrists take 99 seats, which is certainly a majority, but not everything, and the other party will take 25 seats. Now, what if the other parties do not unite? Well, then the centrists take even more. So if the other parties voted, like people voted separately for them as before, the centrist alliance would take 109 seats, so they do take more, but the NDP, so that's the farther left-wing party, they still take 14 seats, and the Greens still take their 1 seat. So what do these hypothetical situations reveal? Well, for one thing, it's revealed that centrists are certainly more popular than those who are not centrists. We see that with the dominance of our hypothetical centrist alliance here. We also see that if we compare the right and left wing blocks, they do seem to be approximately 50-50, right? Even though here it looks like the right wing is a little bit ahead if we don't count the Greens as left wing, and left wing or Greens being left or right wing seems to be the decision maker. But there is a strong preference for centrists, and we see that that preference is also true among the right wing, right? In every single riding, the centrist right-wing party is more popular than the other two right-wing parties combined. Now, that's convenient for a center right-wing party. Okay, so they are centrist, which pleases the general population, and being centrist also pleases the right-wing population, which they are a part of, suggesting that that would give them an advantage, which is exactly what is seen with the fact that they won the majority of the seats. For the left wing, the general public's preference for centrists would favor the center-left liberals. But within the left wing, there is a very slight preference for the NDP, actually. Okay, the liberals are more popular than the NDP in just under half of the seats, 58 instead of 62. So that would break up the popularity of the two left-wing parties. Okay, the centrists would favor one, but among just the left wing, there's a slight preference for the other. And well, we see that in the case that the left-wing parties did not perform as well. And we also see, as expected, the centrists don't perform as well as the other left-wing party because, well, the central-left doesn't perform as well as the other left-wing party. As expected, based on this 58 here, they are more popular in just under half of the ridings. So the NDP is more popular in just over half of the ridings if you're just comparing the two liberal parties. And the other right-wing parties that are not centrists, well, we see that they don't win any seats, which is congruent with the fact that well, the right wing prefers centrist, and generally speaking, people prefer centrists. And there you go. That's what is revealed, that the concluding election results. And finally, of course, we have the Green Party. They still hold on to that one seat. The results are not surprising. These comparisons reveal things congruent with the final election results. So hopefully that answers some questions people had. And until next time.